It's time for our book study on Rise of the False Gods, Transformation Through Illumination. And I'm so glad you're with me tonight. It was kind of difficult to get myself online. I found I was pretty tired. I think the reason is this our current events have, there we go. Tishy was waiting for our little gathering as well. Um, I think we forget what the stress of our current events does to our physical body, and that that bridge between when to push and how hard to push, and when to just relax and take care of yourself without getting lethargic about it. So it's kind of a 50-50 thing. So I just want to remind you to take care of yourself. If this is the first time you've been joining our Rise of the False Gods group, um, study group, I invite you to go to YouTube and just search Rise of the False Gods, Alicia Leslie, and it will come up, and you can see all the videos we've done, and then be more participatory. I do invite you to please ask questions, make comments. I may not see your questions and comments when they come up, but after I'm done with the video, I review them and I'll be happy to answer any questions. So tonight we've got a nice hot topic, and that would be marriage. Ah, now that's an area I consider myself quite the expert in. How could I be an expert in marriage, you say, since I'm not married? And but I was married twice, and I learned a lot in that times, and I learned how it interfaces with the metaphysics that we do talk about. So we are going to be on page 155, starting in the middle of the page if you're reading the text print version, and it'll be nearby that. I think you can search it in Kindle if you're doing that. Remember, questions are always welcome. Okay. All right. And as I say very often, and I will say again tonight because it will be very true tonight, you may not agree with what I say or what I think. I'm not asking you to agree with me. I'm asking you to ponder the possibility that something I say is valid. So think on that, okay? All right. So it starts off on page 155 with a good marriage is the cornerstone of a happy, healthy family, a place where people can feel safe, secure, and loved unconditionally. And that was my childhood. And was it perfect? Oh, no, what is? But it really, my parents' marriage filled the requirements for a healthy marriage. They not only loved each other, they liked each other. They got along quite well. Uh, my mother was kind of outspoken, opinionated, high energy type A. Uh, she's a Virgo. And my dad, very laid back, complacent Pisces. So you go, how does that work? Well, it works because my dad was willing to take the back seat and my mom was out there doing her thing. Now, the thing is, if my dad was really serious about something, and that'd be like, Muriel, and that'd be the end of that. But they worked good together. They made good decisions together. They built a foundation that we could build our lives on. And I know that a lot of people that wasn't their family experience, and I'm deeply saddened for them because of that. Because I really did. I grew up with a Leave It to Beaver family, but a lot of people did, and those were the role models that we looked at. We had role models that were like, um, Leave It to Beaver, Father Knows Best. There was respect in the families, there was honor, there was integrity, there was discipline. And there are things you did not see on shows that followed that. Now, some shows, well, that'll be another whole thing. I'm not going there now because we're talking about marriage tonight. I caught that little diversion from the track. Um, okay, so we're saying marriage is a divine idea in the mind of God. We don't, like all divine ideas, we don't always express them to the fullness of their potential. And we don't always stay in alignment with them, which is when we draw our challenges to ourselves. So it says here, under the influence of false gods, marriages are very difficult to establish and to maintain. The powerful bonds required for a strong, healthy marriage have taken a back seat to ego, emotions, romance, and I didn't put it in there, but sensuality slash sexuality. And then there's the wedding. Our paradigm of what marriage requires, which is commitment and meaningful vows, is unrecognizable today. Now, I've been around weddings a lot and marriages a lot, and not just my own experience. I've done marital counseling, premarital counseling. I really, when I am about to marry a couple, I very strongly urge them to take the premarital counseling that I provide for free because to me, it's more important that they have it. You know, we do weddings, and like the couple and I do weddings, and God and the couple do marriages. And the marriages are important, but because when you're in lower consciousness and you put human thought and human emotion above spiritual intuitive sensing, then you've made the mistake of having more concern about the wedding than the marriage. People spend as much money on marriage counseling as they did on their wedding. That would be something. Um, our paradigm, okay, so I said it, commitment and meaningful vows. Now we go back again to what Captain Barbosa from Pirates of the Caribbean, who says, you know, the code, but what about the pirate code? It's kind of like more just some guidelines. Well, guidelines are not laws, and laws are not guidelines. Guidelines are kind of like, well, this or that. Laws are ultimately, this is how it works. And if you choose not to go by this is how it works, you're just going to encounter all kinds of problems. And this is not meant to be preachy or judgmental or anything like that. It's simply practical, principled spirituality. I mean, it's just the way it is. Um, it says here, we are conditioned to spend outrageous amounts of money on weddings, while there is little interest in what it takes to establish, build, and maintain a marriage. See, a wedding is just a party. Everybody loves a good party, you know, and celebrate. What you're really supposed to be celebrating at the wedding is not the couple's egos, you know, oh, she's so lovely, he's so handsome, blah, 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 and everybody gets drunk and dances, falls down. No, that's not, and gives presents. That's not what it's really it's supposed to be. A celebration that you are taking a vow. You're not making a suggested guideline, you're taking a vow. Unfortunately, today vows don't have the place of importance that they once did. And so that's not judging anybody's, you know, personal choices or life or anything. It's just like this. If you make a solid vow, if two people make a solid vow and work toward building a marriage, it's doable. It's even doable in a uh, what is that? Prearranged marriage like they do in India, because you got some raw material. What you got to that get out of the raw material is what you put into it. Ain't what you got, it's what you do with it, as they say. Okay. So the average wedding as of 2017 cost about $36,000. $36,000. What would you do with $36,000? Recently, well, a few years ago, one of my nephews got married and he was talking about the cost of the wedding. And it was, I think he said $35,000. And he said, damn, we could have put a deposit down on a house for that. And you could. What's the wedding about? Is the wedding about the ego? Is it about the vows? What's it really about? Let's get serious. Is it about everyone praising you? This is your day. Oh, hell. You should be celebrating couplehood, commitment with solid vows. Um, Wedding showers, bachelor parties were once comprised of small groups of friends and family members. I loved my showers. I don't know if I had a wedding shower for my second wedding, but I don't know. I had one for my first wedding. And see that you were supposed to be building a life together then. That was creating a life together. It wasn't like hanging out for a while with the person until and unless something happened you didn't like. But we had showers, and what we do is we'd take a regular go out in the rain umbrella and we would deck it all out with crepe paper and put streamers on it and hang the umbrella upside down, and we'd hide confetti in it, and at some point somebody hit the umbrella and the confetti'd fall all over the bride, and it was just wonderful. And logical gifts were given: a toaster, some towels, sheets. It was things you needed to build your household. Well, today, so often people have been shacking up that they have a household already. Sometimes they even have a house. But and the gifts, oh my gosh, it's no longer, oh well, everybody needs a toaster. Well, everybody needs blah 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 blah. In those days, ashtrays, because people smoked and smoked in the house. People still smoke, just not in the house. Not me, not for a long time. But now showers are like 150 people. They're like mini mini weddings, There's and not only that, you get an engagement party. And excuse me, it used to be the girls had the shower, the guys had the stag party, and they were not big and blown up and expensive like they are today. Nothing was. It was intimate. We'd play games, have little finger sandwiches or something that the host or hostess of the party would prepare. Once in a while, we'd do a potluck. That's what it's really about. It's about getting together and helping your friends get a good start. Not about getting together and seeing how many expensive gifts you can rake in. Excuse me. Today, registries lift gifts starting in the hundreds of dollars, and brides can become bridezilla if their every whim is not met. Sorry, I've been talking a lot. I'm sorry, I have a frog. Okay. Then, of course, we've got destination weddings. Didn't even go there. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. It will pass. Okay, with about a 50-50 chance of success in the marriage, there seems to be little reason to invest $50,000 in a wedding, showers, bachelorette parties, and a costly, expensive, painful divorce, right? The divorce rate has declined, but so has the marriage rate. More people are just living together and not having that marriage. They're not making that ultimate spiritual commitment. And they're making a legal commitment, and that leads to a lot of legal pain and suffering if and when the marriage doesn't work. Okay, I'm just reading a little note here because I can see it. Uh, my daughter was told she had to split the cost of a very expensive shower when she was a bridesmaid and already paying for an expensive dress, shoes, etc. Right. And probably a dress she would never wear again, right? There's that old bridesmaid dress thing. Okay. The divorce rate skyrocketed from the 1960s through the 1990s. During that period, the sexual revolution changed traditional relationships and conduct. Marriage was no longer the expected path of a relationship, nor was parenthood. This created an environment that led to tragic results for the family. I am not judging, okay? I'm expressing the wisdom I've picked up over the years and the experiences that I've had and how they worked out, not for the best, not as I could see it in my life, and trying to help to see how, if any of my bad experiences could help others to have a good experience. I wouldn't want someone else to have the suffering I made. So again, we have to do that autopsy on the relationship and go back and see what went wrong. We're going to talk about that throughout this chapter. During this time, the nuclear family suffered and was for many dismantled. Of course, then you have the second marriages, the second families, the second in-laws and grandparents, and the remarriage, the second marriage, has got less of a chance of making it than the first marriage. But we just keep on jumping into it. But if we're jumping into it from our lower consciousness rather than from our higher consciousness, we are only setting ourselves up for pain, suffering, and loss. It'd be really nice to have something you could count on. It would be really nice to get married and expect your mate to be faithful. I mean, that's the way it was when I got married. I got married just prior to the sexual revolution. And whereas the generation ahead of me, our parents, was there infidelity? Absolutely. Was it as common and as easy as it is today? Oh no. Um, See, in my first divorce, um, first of all, it was not a good marriage, and it was a very, very bad, painful, what's that word? Disrespectful. It was, and it was hard on the children. Now, when I got married, I said, I'm getting married till death do us part. And I make a joke of it, but I'll say when death becomes the preferred alternative, something's wrong. But that's where I was. I wasn't going to kill myself, but I probably wouldn't have wept a whole lot if my spouse had passed away, because life, everyday life, was so disrespectful, and it was really, really a lot of verbal, emotional abuse, and it was tough. And but I was committed. And well, I'm not going to go into that. That's another whole thing. Sometime maybe I'll do in a one-on-one class. But it was hard. Okay. Um, so I'm sorry I lost my place. Little support. Oh yeah. Okay. Now we can point fingers and blame, and I'm not doing any of this. I hope you understand this. I am explaining circumstances so we can look at cause and effect and how to put out better causes which will reflect better effects. Okay. There's little support working through difficulties in marriage and abundant temptation not to. The moral fiber of our concepts of marriage, love and marriage, has been frayed and weakened. You see, we look at it as confining and problematic instead of looking at it as making a commitment, living by a commitment that will ultimately bless you. But you got to have the right materials to work with. Oh, and someone new says we spent less than $3,000 for a Las Vegas wedding. Well, that was good. And I'm thinking that you're a little bit less ego-centered than a lot of people who want that big fancy my day bash. The marriage is what's important, and I think you got that one right. Okay. So we do not have a lot of support in a marriage, in keeping marriages together. You know, when I would do weddings, I would tell the best man and the maid of honor, and even sometimes the guests at the wedding, you're all here to witness this, and it's your job to try to support it. So that's why you're witnessing it. You're seeing that they made a vow, and you can help them to hold to it, not as a punishment, but a willing commitment. A willing commitment. Romance does not require a willing commitment. You hearing me? Okay. The prevailing thought today is everybody's doing it. Divorce and infidelity were once feared and avoided, but today they are very common. And the movies are full of it, songs are full of it, stories are full of it, books are full of it. It's like, again, infidelity, you're looking at yourself before the good of the whole. I remember one time I actually had a doctor's appointment and I was having such a tough time with my marriage. And I told the doctor, who was not a psychologist, it was just my doctor doing a checkup. And he said, I said, I think I should just go out and find somebody else. And the doctor said to me, look, you made a commitment. You want someone else, that's fine. Do it right. You get the divorce first, then you find somebody else. But we tend to do that. It's that old hop back on the horse. You know, if you fall off the horse, you got to get back on. Yeah, well, you don't get back on until you're healed, okay? And if we haven't done that autopsy on the marriage to see what killed it, we're going to go off and we're going to make another bad marriage. And how do I know that? Because I did it. Okay, hang on a second. I'm going to move down a little bit. I see I do have, please know I cannot see my comments. So I will look at them and comment if questions or anything after we're done. All right. Where was I? Oh yeah, here we go. Okay. Well, even the songs. If loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right. Well, you know what? That's not the way it works. Boy, if you want to know some, you know, songs about infidelity, you're going to find those in country music. You know the thing, if you play a country music song backwards, what do you get? Get your car back, you get your dog back, get your truck back. Okay. Um, so there's lots of seeds of discontent planted, and there's no longer any kind of stigma or taboo about getting a divorce. Should there be a taboo about getting a divorce? No. But I think that if we take our vows and our promises too lightly, what do we have to stand on? We need to have something to stand on. Before moving on, I should share, I already have, this is in the book for those who didn't hear me blob it out. Um, I should share that I've been married twice without success. My marriages were based on my own neediness, self delusion, false beliefs. I was very naive. I thought you could take any two people together and make a marriage, and you could, but that would take enormous amounts of work and commitment. A marriage takes a lot of work anyway. I tell every couple that I marry, what you're about to do is going to be the hardest work you have ever done in your life and the most rewarding. I've learned to live alone. I've been alone for, I don't know, probably going on 40 years. And I'm fine and I do okay. There was a time when I thought I would die if I was alone. I did not address the healing that I needed between marriages and experienced disaster of a second worse relationship. If you don't heal something, go back to that old, if you fall off the horse routine. If you fall off the horse routine and you're living by that, if you fall off, you got to get right back on. And you got a broken leg, you're going to have another fall of an infection, it's going to get worse. It's that old, going from the fire pan to the fire. And because I've done that. I did not make good decisions. I made decisions that were based in the lower two quadrants of consciousness, human thought and human emotion. I was so glad, I am so glad to this day that I found unity. Now, I'm not telling you unity is for everybody. I'm telling you that's my path and the path of many others. When I found unity, I learned to understand cause and effect. And what was my part in that? So, even the getting married without a solid foundation and not building for that solid foundation, I don't know. I learned from it, so I guess that's a good thing. And I can share that with you, and that's a good thing. But I still think we have great uh, advancements to make in human consciousness to bring marriage back to being a sacred state. It's something where in life, we're looking for something we can rely on, we can count on. And if you get people together that are making a solid, committed relationship with which they build a family where people, you can count on them not to cheat on you, you can count on them. I'm sick and tired of hearing people, they're only human. Oh, bull feathers. How can you say, I'm a child of God? Really? If you're a child of God, then start acting like it. Do I always act like a child of God? Not necessarily, but I try. Every day I try, and every day I recommit to be myself and to be a reflection of the image and likeness of God. That's that's a tall call, but I will strive for it anyway. Finding unity was a lifesaver for me because I learned the principles behind my mistakes and my healing as well. Failure, you have to hear this. Marriage is a divine idea in the mind of God. It teaches us about cooperation, commitment, building a life together, learning to live and grow together, and it highlights the need to learn from our experiences so we don't repeat them. A 1999 article in House and Garden, Infidelity Comes Out of the Closet by Joseph Hooper, points out that adulterous behavior of parents affects the children. This underscores the scripture that states the sins of the fathers will be cast upon their sons for 4 generations. What this is basically saying is that we live in a constant state of devolution and evolution. We are either evolving or devolving. One, we are reaching up to the higher consciousness. One, we are succumbing to lower consciousness. And it's very difficult to try to keep yourself up when you're feeling very down. So whereas in my parents' generation, the divorce rate was very, very low. Their parents was low. Theirs increased a little bit, especially because of World War II and how after people got married in a hurry and because their loved one was going off to war, and then they came back and come to find out it didn't work out. So that was kind of a bad choices thing. But basically, their relationships and the commitment they made was seen much more as a commitment and not a, till something better comes along or whatever. Just not taken very seriously. Um, so what happens is with each generation, it's looser and looser. In my generation, um, the divorce rate increased, especially after the sexual revolution. And people were not paying attention to the ultimate price that was being paid, the loss of stability, the loss of finance. It's a big thing. Um, Infidelity is a most selfish act because a person that is cheating on their mate, first of all, their relationship, the marriage is weakened by that because they're not giving what they promised, which was their whole self to the one person. And they, nor can they give their whole self to their, what do they call it? Paramour, their lover, their person they're cheating with. So it's all very ego based. They like the thought that, oh, so much to love. I could tell you stories that would straighten your hair. There are many causes of divorce. In 1969, California legalized no fault divorce, removing further incentive to remain married. We have very little incentive to stay married. It's too easy to get out. Now, am I saying you should not be able to get out of a bad marriage? Excuse me, heck no. I've been in a bad marriage and it's the pain. But let me tell you something, tried. I tried so hard to make it work. And I was cheated on. And I got to tell you, the pain of that was excruciating. When I gave my life, well, I always gave my life to God, but when I gave my life to my husband, to build a marriage together, infidelity was out of the question, despite of the verbal and emotional abuse I had. Messing around was not on the table. And then after the cheating and everything, and just the whole family got broken. I stayed married for years after that. Why? Number one, I was Catholic, and Catholic, you marry till death do you part. Not anymore, but back then. And at one point, a Monsignor told me, when the time is right, you'll know it. And when the time was right, I knew it. That doesn't mean that marriage is not a divine idea in the mind of God. Marriage is still a divine idea in the mind of God. It's not what you got, it's what you do with it. Marriage is give and take, not take and take. Okay? We have to remember that. And we need to have incentives and we need to have support of other people, other couples that will help us to stay in healthy relationships. And we've got to work like with our physical body. We got to work to keep our relationships healthy. The divorce rate has continued to climb. What we haven't realized is that the mandates of humankind made from the perspective of carnal mind are flawed. It doesn't matter that everybody's doing it. That doesn't mean just, it's what the moms always said. And if everybody jumps off the Brooklyn Bridge, are you going to go join them? Psychologists tell us how resilient children are. Don't believe that for a moment. Yeah, they're resilient when they have to be. But what the parents do changes and forms who the children are. Now, my parents, as far as church went, we did all the sacraments we were supposed to do, but my parents did not go to church regularly till they got older. You know, you call it cramming for their finals. I just happened to have a passion for church and went a lot. But we were the holiday ones. We were the ones that took your seats in your pews on Thanksgiving and Easter, holy days of obligation. But my parents were people of honesty and integrity. And so they still taught us the values that you would learn in church at home. And we got the church on the side on the special occasions. And when it was fun and convenient, when our friends were going and we'd go. And, you know, when a marriage ends in divorce, a family falls apart. And let me tell you, if you've never been there, it hurts like hell. And like it or not, it puts an indelible mark on the children. So we are at time. Oh God, I'm so sorry. We're 7 minutes past time. So I have to leave it there for tonight. So tomorrow's Friday, we will finish. Oh, we'll finish marriage. I made more progress than I thought. So we're going to finish marriage and go on to welfare. Now, there's some interesting topics. Please know your questions are welcome. Your comments are welcome. If you have anything you want me to address, or that I didn't point out, please tell me. Put it in the comments, and I will take a look at it tomorrow. So thank you for being with me. God bless you, and have a good night and a beautiful tomorrow. Bye bye.